Hello, everybody. Today, our group project is going to examine the economic effects of drug legalization, focusing primarily on the legalization of cannabis. In this presentation, I'm going to briefly summarize our findings on tax revenue, employment, criminal justice outcomes, and public health effects, based on evidence from peer-reviewed studies and government data. The main findings from our literature review fall into four areas. First, legalization generates substantial tax revenue. Since 2014, U.S. states have collected over $25 billion in adult use cannabis. Secondly, legalization contributes to moderate economic growth. Studies estimate increases in income and housing values in states that legalize cannabis, and the legal industry now supports more than 440,000 jobs in the United States. Third, legalization produces significant criminal justice effects, including sharp reductions in cannabis arrests and some evidence of reduced violent crimes in certain regions. And finally, legalization also introduces public health concerns, including increase in substance abuse disorders, although most studies find no increase in adolescent cannabis use under medical marijuana laws. Drug policy has evolved rapidly over the past 2 decades. Portugal decriminalized drugs in 2001. Colorado and Washington legalized recreational cannabis in 2012. And Canada federally legalized cannabis in 2018. Economic theory suggests that regulated markets with taxation can be more efficient than prohibition, because prohibition can often create black markets and enforcement costs. Empirical studies support measurable economic effects. Brown and co-authors find income gains of about 3% and housing price increases of about 6% following legalization. Dragon and co-authors find a 30% reduction in rapes in Washington border counties after legalization. And overall, the literature shows that legalization generates economic benefits but also involves trade-offs. Our analysis is based on systematic literature review combined with administrative data. We focus on early legalizing jurisdictions such as Colorado and Washington, as well as Canada and Portugal as policy benchmarks. The data comes from sources such as State Departments of Revenue, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the FBI Uniform Crime Report, and European drug monitoring agencies. The strongest studies in the literature use differences and synthetic control methods, which compare outcomes before and after legalization while controlling for broader economic trends. However, the literature still faces limitations, including short post-legalization time horizons and difficulty measuring illicit market activity. The results show several inconsistent economic patterns. First, legalization generates large fiscal revenues, with more than $25 billion collected in U.S. cannabis taxes since 2014. Second, legalization produces moderate macroeconomic gains, including increases in income, housing values, and employment in the legal cannabis industry. Third, legalization significantly reduces cannabis-related arrests and criminal justice involvement. Portugal provides an additional benchmark where the share of prisoners incarcerated for drug offenses declined substantially after the decriminalization. At the same time, legalization introduces policy changes. Cannabis prices have fallen as legal supply expanded, which can reduce tax revenue when taxes are based on prices rather than quantity. In conclusion, cannabis legalization generates clear economic benefits, but also measurable social costs. Governments gain substantial tax revenue, and the legal industry creates employment and economic activity. At the same time, policymakers must manage public health risk, regulatory costs, and the persistence of illicit markets. Overall, legalization represents a shift from prohibition to a regulated market that redistribute economic costs and benefits across society. Thank you for your time.